Okay, so last thing I have today is I have been saying for a couple weeks that I would do a little chat on deodorant. So I'd like to preface this chat by saying I am not an expert. I have worked here for not quite 2.5 years. I did a challenge. I'm coming up on, I think, about 900 days in wool, even though I'm not quite there yet, especially like specifically wearing wool and. So some of this I have learned just from our team. Some of it has just been my personal experience. So not an expert, not a scientist. I can just share what we've seen at our help desk, like customer emails, posts in this group, stuff that I've gleaned over the last couple years. So with all of those disclaimers, here we go. We do recommend using a deodorant and not an antiperspirant. A lot of times antiperspirants can just build up like in the armpit, and it can look oily. Now, looks aside, there's actually a reason in terms of function that we don't recommend antiperspirant. So it's kind of weird, but when antiperspirant builds up in a fabric, and remember, we're not washing wool as much as we'd wash a cotton t-shirt or a polyester shirt, for example. So it just has more probability to build up. So when it builds up, it can actually hold in odor. Now, if you think back in this group, if you've been here for a while, you may have noticed some people saying, I don't know why my dress stinks. So sometimes I look at that and I wonder, I don't always comment, but I wonder, are they wearing an antiperspirant that could be holding in the odor? It's not always the case, but sometimes that's the case. The person doesn't stink, their deodorant doesn't stink, but maybe something is building up on the fabric that's causing it to like hold in those odors. And I don't know this for sure, but I actually wonder if fabric softener could do the same thing. I know I cloth diapered my son, and we were highly encouraged not to use fabric softener because it could build up on the fabric and actually kind of prevent some of those like odor fighting properties. So just a little side note. So that is one thing that we look for when we're helping to troubleshoot someone with either an odor issue or a buildup issue. Does it have antiperspirant? Now, if you're seeing some sort of buildup, we'd recommend that you'd use less of your deodorant product, or perhaps switching. Another thing to mention is some homemade or natural deodorants may have oil in them. Excuse me. So they may have an oil base. Now, if you have no buildup, it's probably still fine to use. If you are noticing like a dark spot kind of on the armpit, either on the inside or outside of the fabric, that could be oil related. So that's another thing to look for. I realize sometimes people try a deodorant, it works for them, they don't want to switch. So then what we'd recommend is use less of your product. If you're noticing some of these issues and you're not brand or variety specific, like loyal to that brand, maybe you'd want to switch. So let's see. On our website, we also recommend that you avoid alkaline products. A lot of homemade or natural deodorants will use ingredients like baking soda, clay, magnesium, zinc, charcoal. Those can actually eat away at the, excuse me, they can actually eat away at the natural fiber, like the wool in the armpit. Now, just using something like that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to destroy your dress. It may just not last as long. It may just cause issues. So there really is no perfect answer for the deodorant question. I know it comes up a lot. I know we have some suggestions on our site. That's tricky too, because some of the suggestions we have, for example, Nude, N-U-U-D, that is a brand that is available in both the US and Europe, which is one of the reasons we suggest it. It does have, I forget what the ingredient is, I think clay, some sort of clay in there, which is something we normally wouldn't recommend, but you're using such a small amount, like a little pea-sized amount, and it lasts for several days. So because of that, it's typically not causing issues. So sometimes it's a matter of ingredients, sometimes it's a matter of quantity. It's a really tricky question. I'm probably not even describing it as well as I should, but I also wanted to tell you I'm still experimenting with this. I am still making rookie mistakes even a couple years in, so I'm going to show you Exhibit A, my example. have my Morgan tea. I love this tea. I wear it all the time. When I switched to wearing wool about 2.5 years ago, I switched to my deodorant, which was great. I've actually had really good experience with the 2 deodorants that I've been using, and I have no desire to switch, but I still had some really good kind of natural deodorants in my medicine cabinet. So last month I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna use some of them up so they don't sit around and die a slow death in my medicine cabinet. It was great. Worked fine until it didn't. So after about, I don't know, 2 weeks, I noticed it was a little stronger than this, but you can see it's got some white buildup there, and I was a little stinkier. So I thought, well, okay, I'll just throw it in the wash and take care of it. This is after it's been washed. So the next step in my process is I'm actually going to have to get probably a soft brush or a cloth, like a terry cloth, and actually just let it soak and scrub it with some detergent, like a Castile soap, to get this buildup out so I don't ruin my but one of my favorite shirts. So all of that to say, it's always going to be a learning process. Sometimes, you know, I think one of the best skills I got from my challenge was actually just learning how to treat issues, stains. I'm a messy cook. I splatter oil all over myself all the time, salad dressing, you name it. But learning how to treat these things has been a very good life skill for me, and just learning how to take care of buildup, which looking back, I had this even before I was wearing wool. I just never bothered to take care of it because I didn't value my clothes as much. So there's my TED Talk for the week. Anyway, that's all I have this week. If you have questions about deodorant, I can't promise an answer, but I can promise that I'll do my best to answer it. If you have any other questions too, just feel free to comment and let me know. Have a great week, everyone.